Right now, there is a comforting number sitting in a government account somewhere with your name on it. Your retirement, your pension, the money you were promised after decades of work. But here's what nobody's telling you. That number, it might not be real. Around the world, pension funds are sitting on a ticking time bomb, and by the time most people realize what's happening, it will be too late to do anything about it. I'm going to show you exactly what's going on, who's at risk, and more importantly, what you can do right now before this crisis hits full force. And stay with me, because near the end, I'm going to reveal the one move that financial experts are quietly making to protect themselves, something almost nobody is talking about publicly. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth. Pension funds globally are running a deficit of trillions, not billions, trillions. That means the money that's supposed to be there when you retire simply isn't there. Governments and corporations have been making promises for decades. Work hard, contribute, and we'll take care of you. But behind the scenes, they spent that money, invested it poorly, or simply didn't set enough aside. Think about that for a second. You held up your end of the deal. You showed up, you contributed, and the people managing your future, they gambled with it. Now, you might be thinking, well, my country's different, my fund is solid, and maybe it is. But let me ask you something. Have you actually checked? Have you looked at the funding ratio of your pension fund? Most people haven't. Most people simply trust that the system works. And that trust is the problem. Here's how pension funds are supposed to work. It's simple, at least in theory. Workers contribute during their careers, that money gets invested, the returns grow over time, and when those workers retire, the fund pays out. Clean, simple, beautiful. Except it hasn't worked that way for a long time. There are three massive cracks in this system, and each one is getting worse. The first crack? Demographics. This is the one that changes everything, and almost nobody wants to talk about it honestly. Decades ago, there were 6 or 7 workers for every retiree. The math was easy, plenty of people paying in, not many drawing out. Today, in many developed economies, that ratio has dropped to 3 to 1. In some places, it's approaching 2 to 1, and it's heading toward numbers that make the entire system mathematically impossible. People are living longer, which is wonderful, but pension systems were designed when the average person received benefits for maybe 10 years. Now, people are living 20, 25, even 30 years past retirement. The system wasn't built for this. And here's the part that makes everything worse. Birth rates are plummeting around the globe. Fewer young workers are entering the workforce to replace the ones retiring. So you have more people taking money out and fewer people putting money in. This isn't a crisis waiting to happen. This is a crisis already happening. But demographics is only the first crack. The second one is even alarming. Investment returns. Pension funds need to hit certain return targets to stay solvent. Historically, many of them assumed they'd earn 7 or 8% per year. Some still assume that. But in reality, the last 2 decades brought brutal surprises. Interest rates spent years near zero, bond yields collapsed, and when rates finally went up, it didn't help. It actually destroyed the value of the bonds that pension funds already held. Remember what happened in the UK in 2022? Pension funds nearly collapsed overnight. The government had to step in with an emergency bailout. Billions were at risk. It barely stayed in the news for a week and then everyone moved on. But the underlying problem didn't disappear. It's still there, and it's not just the UK. Many pension funds around the world are using aggressive assumptions about future returns to make their numbers look better on paper. They're projecting growth that may never come, and every year those returns fall short, the hole gets deeper. Now, here's the third crack, and this one is the most infuriating. Mismanagement, political interference, pure and simple negligence. In some cases, pension money was redirected to fund other government priorities. Infrastructure projects, pet political projects, budget deficits. The money that was supposed to be sacred, your retirement, treated like a slush fund. And the worst part, there's almost no accountability. When the consequences show up, the politicians who made those decisions are long gone, retired themselves, collecting their own pensions, by the way. The irony is almost too much. So let me put this all together for you. You have more retirees than ever, fewer workers contributing, investment returns falling short of projections, and mismanagement draining what's left. This isn't one problem, this is a perfect storm. And it gets worse because there's a hidden multiplier effect that nobody talks about. When pension funds start running out of money, governments have limited options. They can raise taxes on workers, which makes young people even more burdened and less likely to stay in the system. They can cut benefits, which means the retirement you were promised gets reduced, or they can push back the retirement age, which means you work longer to receive less. Some countries are already doing all three, and they're still not solving the problem. They're just buying time. Now, I promised I'd tell you what the experts are doing, the people who actually understand these numbers, the financial advisors, the fund managers, the economists who see the data every single day. What are they doing with their own money? They're not relying on pensions alone, not even close. Here's what the smartest people in finance understand that most people don't. A pension is a promise, and promises can be broken. What can't be broken is what you own, what you control, and what doesn't depend on someone else keeping their word. The experts are diversifying aggressively outside of any single system. They're building personal investment portfolios that they control. They're creating multiple income streams. They're investing in assets that don't depend on a government keeping a promise 30 years from now. And they started years ago because they saw this coming. But here's the good news, and pay close attention because this is the part that really matters for you. You don't need to be a financial expert to protect yourself. You just need to stop assuming that the system will take care of you and start taking action now. First, know your numbers. Actually look at the health of your pension fund. Find out the funding ratio. If it's below 80%, that's a warning sign. Below 70, that's a red flag. Many funds are sitting in that danger zone right now, and the people in them have no idea. Second, don't put all your eggs in the pension basket. Even if your fund looks healthy today, you need other sources of retirement income, personal savings, investments, real estate, a business, something you control, something that doesn't depend on demographics or politicians or fund managers making the right calls for the next 30 years. And third, start earlier than you think you need to. The biggest advantage you have is time. Compound growth is the most powerful force in personal finance, but it only works if you give it years to grow. Every year you wait is a year of growth you'll never get back. Fourth, reduce your dependence on any single system. This isn't about being paranoid, it's about being realistic. Systems fail, institutions make mistakes. The people who survive financial storms aren't the ones who trusted blindly, they're the ones who prepared while things still looked calm. And fifth, educate yourself. Understand how money works, how investments work, how inflation erodes purchasing power over time. The more you understand these forces, the better decisions you'll make. And in a world where pension systems are cracking, your financial education is the most valuable asset you can build. Now, I want to come back to something I said at the beginning, that number sitting in an account with your name on it, your pension. I'm not telling you it's worthless. I'm not telling you to panic. What I am telling you is this: don't treat it as guaranteed. Don't build your entire future on top of a promise made by people who might not be around to keep it. And don't wait until you're 5 years from retirement to find out the money isn't there. The pension crisis isn't something that might happen someday. For millions of people around the world, it's already happening. Benefits are being cut, retirement ages are being pushed back, funds are being restructured, and the people who suffer the most are always the ones who didn't see it coming. You now see it coming. The question is, what are you going to do about it? There's a reason this crisis doesn't get the attention it deserves. It's slow, it's complicated, and it's uncomfortable. Nobody wants to tell you that the system you've been contributing to your entire life might not deliver what it promised, but uncomfortable truths are the ones that save you. The people who act on this information now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, will look back and be grateful they didn't ignore it. The ones who don't, they'll wish they had. Your future isn't something you can afford to leave in someone else's hands. Not anymore. Take control. Start today. because the clock is already ticking, and nobody is going to sound the alarm for you.